Well, I am so excited to be here and to close out this amazing event. So many thanks to all of the incredible speakers and participants. But I heard somebody say one of the other sessions was maybe the highlight session. That's not true. It's this session with my friend Karuana Gatimu. So grateful to have her. She has spent the last 25 years in the technology industry, the last 11 of those at Microsoft, where she's currently um, uh, on the Microsoft 365 customer advocacy group. She's been a community organizer, a founder, a marketing executive. She's a storyteller, a writer, a producer, and a great cook. So I would like to start just for those of us that are kitchen deficient. Tell us something, give us some tip that even the weakest of us, and speaking totally of myself, can look smart in the kitchen tonight. Give me something to go on, please.
I will have to say that there's some TikTok videos out there that have transformed my cooking. Never be afraid of putting some vegetables and chicken broth and your protein of choice in a pan and simmering it with a lot of herbs. Herbs are your friend. Flavor is everything, and you can't make up for that cook down time. But
That's
it's all
amazing.
about creativity, which is what all these startup founders are really about, right? It's no different.
That's wonderfully said. All right, I think I'm gonna just roll into the kitchen tonight and just like throw tons of herbs in and like I'm
Yes.
gonna watch a few TikTok videos. I feel like it at minimum, like I'm leaving this startup summit with some really practical advice there. We've got so much more to get to, but it's a great start. Thank you for being here. First time at Startup Grind, I believe. So really, and I know you're going from interview to meeting to interview. Really appreciate you being here, Caruana.
Thank you so much. Well, I really appreciate being included. I'm really a fan of what you're doing here. I learned more listening to the last, 10 minutes of the prior panel. And it's knowledge that I really wish I would have had when I was a founder back in the day when I had my own company. There's such a service that you're providing and you're making all this information accessible to so many people, so I'm a big fan. I'm your fan. So
Thank
happy to
you.
be here.
Well, I know you are still an entrepreneur and you're such a great creator, but the company that you started was around 20 years ago. I just wondered just to start this, you've got a lot of people who are in the trenches who are, dealing with the day-to-day stresses of all the things going on at their company. As you look back on your startup experience 20 years ago, how do you look at it now? I like what do you take away from the
That's
experience
a
that you had as you think back on it? Are you happy you did it? Do you wish you'd done something else? What are the sort of endearing sort of thoughts about that experience?
it was so foundational to the way that I run business on behalf of Microsoft today. I call running my own business and that startup time in my career my real world MBA. I don't
Mm.
have an MBA. I've probably read a ton of MBA textbooks. They're all on my shelf because I'm a big believer in self education. But it really taught me a lot about myself as a leader, as someone who needs to execute, and the difference between the two. I think for me, one of the most difficult things was resource management. Of course, I was always stressing about payroll and things of that nature. I was self funded at the time. Um, and one of the things is I learned through adversity because I started my business when I was coming off of a gig that I'd had in New York. I was VP of marketing for a professional services firm, and there'd been a reorganization, and I took the parachute because I was frankly tired of people telling me what to do that I didn't like. And so I decided to hang my own shingle. And then 9/11 happened. And
Mm.
all of my customers that I had started out with, my initial roster to get me through that first year, were in New York. And so
Wow.
I had to rapidly pivot my company strategy, my customer list, my approach, my offerings. I mean, it was incredibly stressful, and I really learned so much through that fire. I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. So I would encourage people, even if you feel like you're quote unquote failing, those are such valuable lessons that you can take to your next startup or your next gig or even in your own life, right? To be a little more forgiving of ourselves as we're on that learning journey, I feel like it's really important. There's so much pressure when you're a founder to deliver and to be financially successful, and to do what you said you would do for your investors. But don't forget about the personal journey as a professional, as a human, that you're having as you're being a leader or participating in that founding journey. It was fantastic. Caused me a lot of stress. I learned through adversity sometimes, and that's how I would characterize my company stint. I would do it again, though, for sure.
It reminds me what you just said of this sort of phrase that I heard recently that I've been thinking a lot about. And rather than, when something difficult is happening to you or around you, rather than saying, why me, you say, why this?
Yes.
And beautifully said to you. And I think, and Steve Jobs, we've all heard that Stanford, um, you know, uh, graduation speech where he said, you can connect the dots looking back. And I think,
Yeah.
you looking back on your startup career, connecting the dots now, 20 years later, 15 years later, it's really inspirational and helpful to probably a lot of the people earlier in their career and on that sort of first startup journey. I one thing that you do inside the customer advocacy group is you talk to customers, which makes a lot of sense. That that's what you're called and that's what you do. One of the famous startupisms is that no startup survives first contact with customer. And I wonder if you could just share some insights of how you and the team at Microsoft look at speaking with customers, any sort of tactical things that you do,
Right.
or ways that you think about sort of listening and getting the right kind of feedback, or in sort of helping that influence the product.
Absolutely. Well, something, I don't think Microsoft did this function super well throughout its history. But we've gone through a definite transformation under Satya's leadership, where the power that customer feedback has been so highlighted throughout all of our developing services. So my group focuses on emerging and premium services across the space. And so we do a lot of product market fit. We do a lot of, there's a sister team, my colleague Miranda, who does a lot of that work. We do early adopter white glove programs with target customers and key demographics. And I think that does two things. Not only do we get that feedback from the customer, but it also helps product managers refine their vision. We've all had those wonderful ideas that on paper and in the lab just seemed so awesome. And then you go and talk to someone and they are not at all happy with your idea, or they don't understand it. They don't have the vision you do. And sometimes we feel like it's a vision problem on our customer's perspective. It's not. I firmly believe that we are responsible as product managers for making sure that we're meeting the unmet and unarticulated needs of the customer. So I think it's a life cycle where early on we talk about these early and small engagements, and then as we go to market, we actually cultivate what we call non-disclosure communities, where we have people who are experts in this area, or implementers, Microsoft partners, who are in these early adopter programs at scale. And that's really where my team lives, is in the scale motion. And then, of course, as we go to market in communities very large, and we have fantastic tools that we've developed to gather that feedback, quantify it, rank it, give it to product managers. And now the big focus is closing the loop. No one likes to give feedback and feel like they aren't being heard. Even if you have to tell them, hey, thank you for this suggestion, but we're not going to do this. At least they know you heard them and you read what they said. People are very cynical about feedback nowadays because so many companies have done it and so many companies have done it poorly. So part of my job, one of my OKRs actually, is in the percentage of top tier feedback where we close the loop. and where we have an actual qualified answer from the product management leaders who are accountable for that particular product area. Because you're never going to get a customer advocacy group that's staffed to handle it all. You must partner with product management and executive leadership to close that gap. Now, Microsoft, that's, a lot of people. The joy of being, one of the things I do miss about being in a startup is that there's a few people at the table and you can make decisions very rapidly and you can change course rapidly. We do change course here inside Microsoft nowadays based on feedback, but it is a harder ship to turn. Right. And so, but I've had the privilege of working on multiple emerging services here, and that feedback's been so important. So I'm happy that, that this is finally seeing its day as a function, as part of the ecosystem, if you will, of such a large company like Microsoft. It's
awesome.
fun.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
I was in person with a customer recently on the other side of the country, and I said, hey, tell me, honestly, how we can do better. And they said, well, I hate to, have a pitchfork here and, and go after you. But I just said, no, like, this is great. Please bring out the unvarnished, the sharpened pitchforks. This is how we get better. Doesn't hurt my feelings. And it can be, as you said, like, even if it's totally contrary to the vision that I've had in building this product, like, this is my goal, is to build something that customers want and will pay for and get value out of. And so you giving me feedback and caring enough to pitchfork me is actually a huge blessing.
You really hit on something important there. And it's actually some of the training that I do, especially with new product managers, but also people who have been around this business for a long time. Body language is everything when you're receiving feedback, and not immediately justifying why you did something. And that's something I have to say that I've taken home with me as well. If my husband digs around that dinner that I made, that I threw together, and doesn't look completely enthusiastic about it, I ask him what I could do better. I shouldn't justify why I burnt it, right? Or why it isn't satisfying him, right? I just need to listen. And active listening skills are something that I think are underdeveloped as a part of product management and founder training. I think it's really important from a leadership perspective. I wish I would have known back when I had my startup some of those active listening skills that I have now. My first marriage probably would have benefited as well. But I didn't have those skills then because, I just didn't. And so I think it's really important when we think about a leadership founder's journey, about listening to customers, that we don't do it with our arms crossed and a scowl on our face, right? Like, I've actually seen that happen, and it's not conducive to a great relationship.
Well said. I want to shift over to talk about AI. And it's been fascinating to watch Microsoft, as someone on the outside, really lead, and by all accounts, lead the technology world in the sort of adoption of and promotion of using AI inside of tools, and really funding that research and development to be able to do that. Can you talk about, just high level, how Microsoft looks at AI, and what's exciting to you about what you've seen and heard over the last year?
It's been such a journey, I have to say. I mentioned that I've had the privilege of doing multiple emerging services at Microsoft. So whether it was Microsoft Teams, I led the COVID response team for Teams during the pandemic, which was a huge undertaking. SharePoint Online. I mean, pick one in the productivity modern work world, and I probably had something to do with it. But the truth is, I've never seen anything at Microsoft like what we're doing right now. The commitment across this company to all oaring, hitting the oars in the same direction, and enabling our customers in a responsible and trusted way, makes me feel super proud. I'm proud to work at Microsoft. I love working here. It's an infrastructure that allows me to impact millions of people's lives, and that's one of the reasons I stay. But another reason is not just the innovation, but the way that we approach the innovation. And so I'm really excited about the way that we position these co-pilots. And I think so much can be understood about our strategy from the name of the product.
Mm.
Because I know there are concerns out there in the ecosystem, in the public at large, about what AI means for the human future. But we have strong beliefs around that we can put the proper guards in place, we can leverage the technology appropriately, we can help people have what I call their AI aha moment, right? And
Mm.
that aha moment is all about when you really understand what it's going to do for you. Not the hype, not the pitch deck, not the commercial, not the marketing spiel, none of that. Not even the deep technology, that we all like to kind of geek out on, or at least I do. But really, you as an individual, what is AI going to do for you and for your business? And my job in terms of driving usage and adoption and deployment of Microsoft 365 Copilot in particular is all about getting people to that aha moment. All the ways that we have approached technology implementations in the past, some of those things are still true in terms of health and wellness of a technology stack, but it's really a very different approach now. And I think that you're going to see more and more of that innovation as we drive AI into company specific scenarios. There's a great group here at Microsoft that is Microsoft Cloud for Industry, led by a great corporate vice president. His name is Satish Thomas, and his boss, Corey. And they're awesome people and they care. And that's another element that I think maybe people on the outside, I don't know if you see. People here care. We actually believe that we are helping every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more. It's not a marketing slide for us. It's why we get up and work 15, 16 hours a day right now to get this stuff out the door at this rapid pace. Because we really do believe in expanding economic opportunity in a democratic and ethical way across the planet. That this technology can improve everyone's life and every organization's life. It's not a dream. And I feel so privileged to be a part of it, right? Like, wow, I got a seat at this table. This is amazing. And how can I bring my own experience, which is different from a lot of my peers, to create the diversity necessary for this to be meaningful to people, right?
Mm.
And I think that that's another thing that maybe folks from the outside don't know, is that we really take that diversity of thought very seriously and that growth mindset very seriously, to be inclusive of perspectives from a variety of people and sectors and countries and regions around the world as we lead in this technology expansion. So, it's going to be interesting. I think, a year from now, 5 years from now, 200 years from now, people will see this as a time where we changed our approach and our interaction with
Mm.
the knowledge that's around us, and we begin to elevate ourselves in the sense that these AI co-pilots can free you from some of the drudgery so you can do what humans do best, which is creativity and empathy and connection. These things are not going to be replaced by machines, right? And so the human condition can be drastically improved. I'm really excited about the economic opportunity that it can realize, both from a professional standpoint as a technologist, but also in terms of what it can do for organizations. I loved what one of your panelists said previously, which is it's not just about having AI as something that you build and do as a founder, but how are you going to use AI in your own business? And I feel
Mm.
like sometimes people forget about that, right? I mean, you yourself, you're a founder, you have an organization, you have companies. Like, how are you going to use it to improve your reach, your engagement, delivering on your vision? I think people should be starting at home in their own worlds first, and then getting that aha moment and then going from there. Because I know for myself, until I was able to put my hands on the keyboard and start doing some of the things that I now do every day with Microsoft 365 Copilot, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I'll be first to say I didn't get it. I'm like, oh, great, fine. They asked me to come work on this project. Okay, I'll come work on it. I had no idea it was going to change my life the way that it had. So It's a
Yeah.
personal journey, it's a professional journey, and Microsoft is really dedicated to its responsible AI principles.
Well,
Long
first of
answer,
all, I
but
hope that the AI doesn't completely replace me, but I've seen some of the PowerPoint slide designs it creates, and they're much better than mine.
yeah,
So
they're
it's
pretty good,
definitely
aren't
going to
they?
replace some of my work pretty quickly. Um,
Yeah,
but I think in a startup, especially an early startup, you're in this place where nobody cares what you're working on, except like your parents and your siblings,
friends,
and
yeah,
and
friends.
and you have no help. And so who who more than a startup early team needs um, as much help as they possibly can get at the most affordable prices possible, and not just you know weak help or okay help. They need great help. They
Yeah,
need.
they do.
And so I think that's what's been really exciting to me about what Copilot could potentially do to. I'm just going back to 2009 when I quit my job, and I'm in this little 500 square foot apartment with my wife and our 6-week-old baby, and
Right.
like I'm
Yep.
trying to figure out what to do, and I'm talking to people on Twitter, and emailing everyone I know from college asking them for help, and no one responding, and just thinking, hey, at least like if these tools had been available then and they're available now, or they're coming, that
Right.
this could have really sped up so much of the times when I needed the most help. So that's what really, from a startup perspective, gets me excited about what y'all are working on.
I think that's absolutely true. And, it's important to note that, you had a network from college that you could reach out to that I didn't have when I was a founder because I didn't finish my degree. So I didn't have that full college experience. I have a ton of business experience, but that's not the same thing. And so, your network is there for you. And also this co-pilot can be there to do research, to do product competitive research, to really help you do a lot of the legwork that is required in understanding product market fit. And does your vision already exist out there someplace? What is necessary? There's so much work that goes into kind of those early stages of framing and even building your business case, right? I'm a writer, and I do a lot of storytelling, and I do a lot of production at Microsoft. I've certainly had Copilot or Bing Chat Enterprise or whatever help me with frameworks for some of those documents, strategy documents I write, business cases that I write still today inside Microsoft. I write a lot of stuff in here, and I'm a good writer, right? And it's something I enjoy. But Copilot is better. Copilot is better at framing things, and then you can go in and make those adjustments because you always want to check any information you get from an AI, right? But I really think that that's important. There are specific tasks that founders have to do that these AI tools that are available today can help with and just slash in half in terms of the time that it takes
Yeah.
to do them, you know?
I'm being told by the powers that be that I'm not even like halfway through my questions with you, Caruana. So we're gonna have to just do a lot of this another time and keep it going, the
Absolutely.
after party or something. Um, but I did want to kind of finish up just talking about storytelling. You're uh, you're an obvious exceptional storyteller. Just listening to you, if people that don't know you will know that, having just watched you for 20 minutes. You also have this amazing show called Coffee in the Cloud. You have 20 plus thousand subscribers to that, which is just sort of blows my mind. I have so many questions about that, but I just wanted to sort of just ask you. I feel like storytelling is this huge. Often when I see startup pitches, really early stage, my sort of overwhelming advice for them and seeing that, or only advice, is just figure out a better story.
Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
could you just talk about how do you think about telling compelling stories, especially around technology? Is there any sort of building blocks, frameworks that you put in place? How do you get the message right? Tell us how what's your process for building a great story?
That's an excellent question. And it's become it was always important. It's become even more important in these virtual venues, right? Because it's not the same as being in the room. I used to present to 3,000 or 4,000 people at our huge flagship events, and I love that. I do have a little bit of an advantage in that I'm theater trained, so I have some, professional, experience there. But it doesn't matter. Technical storytelling is its own art. And I had to adjust my style to go from a large theater to this camera right here. But I think it's really important that people understand that every story needs a hero and a villain. Who are you? What are you? And hopefully, if you're a founder, you're the hero of the story, but then what's the villain? Right? Good storytelling is the same whether you're in film school or you're in journalism school, no matter what kind of creative writing or professional writing you do, you need a story arc. I'm teaching right now inside Microsoft a technical storytelling class to refine some of this material so that I can publish it. That is probably going to be my next act after I leave Microsoft, is really helping people to develop those leadership and storytelling skills if I ever leave this place. One of the reasons I'm here is that because I can kind of do whatever I want from here inside the bubble, right? But I really think it's important that people understand story arc. And oftentimes I see technologists and product makers, they go too deep too fast without setting context, and marketing people sometimes stay in the fluffy marketecture. There is a happy spot as a technical storyteller between true information, deep dive information, and keeping people on the journey with you. The last thing I really want your audience to know is don't leave the emotion out of it. Are you excited? Show it. Are you concerned? Be concerned. You are a human first. If you follow me at all anywhere, like on LinkedIn, you'll see I write a lot about people first. And that's because in technology, we tend to over-index on the logical and the technical components, and we forget the people. People don't buy things or fund things from, just because they like the pitch. They need to like you. They need to understand that they're betting on you. And so you want to let people actually understand you as a person, let them in a little bit. Why are you doing this? What is your motivation? Right? Every time I get a new assignment at Microsoft, it's not because I'm great at my job. I am, but people know why I'm here. They trust me. They believe in my passion. They know what my agenda is. I want to help and drive economic opportunity around the globe for people who look just like me. That is my reason that I get up in the morning, and everybody knows it. So I think it's really important that you keep emotion in there in an appropriate way. We had this archetype of, I was just say we had this archetype in the past of people kind of running around and beating drums. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, true human emotion that people can connect with. So I know we're running out of time. I want to just take a moment and thank you very much for letting me talk about some of the things I care the most about here at your event. It's been super awesome.
It's super insightful, and I've learned so much, and I really hope, founders. I think the thing that is really unique about you is you're, not only are you great at articulating it, but you can also feel it when you say it. And founders at the earliest stage or people, the first 10 people in a company. I mean, you kind of need to feel it when these people are saying it and what they're talking about, and it's coming from a deep place, or else you wouldn't put yourself through all the things that you have to put yourself through to go through that.
You do have to believe. You have to believe. No one ever accused me of not believing in the Microsoft journey. I definitely believe that I'm in the right place at the right time. And I believe that when I was founding my own company, even when I didn't know who my next client was, I knew I was in the right place in the right time. It was terrifying. It was scary. I was undercapitalized and a bunch of other things, but I was still in the right place because I believed I had something to offer, and it, came together. So all worked out.
Okay, everybody. Karuana says, go believe in yourself.
That's right.
Thank you for being here.